I've been wanting to film a record collection video for so long, but I've been waiting until I hit 100 records because it's just like a nice, even round number, and I thought that that would be poetic. I'd be like, oh, it's my 100th record, time for my record collection video. And this morning, I bought my 100th record, and another one. So here are my 101 records. So this is what my record setup situation is. It's not perfect. It's not anywhere near where I want it, but it works for now. It's functional. I have my record player on this, which isn't the greatest. A rectangle on a circle makes a lot of sense, said absolutely no one. But I do like the cubes in terms of record storage. Alright, this may drive some record collectors crazy, but I don't store my records in any particular order. I have them divided kind of by vibe, and that's what I go by. So the first vibe we're gonna go through is probably my favorite and most listened to, and this one is called The Girls. So this is where the girls sit. It's the most accessible cube from my record player because my bed's right here, so it's kind of in the way. And it's also what I reach for the most, so that's why it's the most accessible. So if the record's a color pressing, I will show you, but if it's just black, I'm not gonna bother pulling it out. And these are in no type of order either. I kind of group them by artist, but it's not like alphabetical order by artist. It's just like, okay, here's my 3 Phoebe Bridgers records. Here's my Mitski. You know, like it's chaos. Just chaos. So without further ado, here's The Girls. The first record I have is Phoebe Bridgers' Copycat Killer EP. It was pressed on this really pretty like Mountain Dew green, I think is what it was called. The next record I have is Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers, and I pre-ordered this and it arrived in the mail like a day or two early, so the first time I listened to it was on vinyl, and that was the first album I had ever done that with, and it was really cool. And it's on this like blue with gray splatter, if that shows up. And then I have Stranger in the Alps by Phoebe Bridgers, Historian by Lucy Dacus, Home Video by Lucy Dacus, which I also pre-ordered and I think is on a color pressing. I might be wrong. Yes! It's like this dark blue, green, purple swirl. Little Oblivions by Julian Baker, Boy Genius by Lucy, Phoebe, and Julian, Planet 2 by Squirrel Flower, and that's just a clear pressing. I Was Born Swimming by Squirrel Flower, which is on this muted red with blue swirl. Be the Cowboy by Mitski, Laurel Hell by Mitski, which is pressed on this bright red vinyl, which matches the album perfectly. Puberty 2 by Mitski, Heard It in a Past Life by Maggie Rogers, Star-Crossed by Casey Musgraves. I don't really like Casey Musgraves, but there are a couple songs on this album that I think are really good. And I also like the way that this opens. And I at least don't own a lot of records that open in a fun way like that. And then it's just pressed on this translucent red. Valentine by Snail Mail. I think this is the indie exclusive one. It's just pressed on this like gold color. The Japanese House, Swim Against the Tide EP, and that's pressed on this like dark green. Fake It Flowers by Beepa Doobie, and it's on this like creamy clear, or maybe it's just clear and that's the light, I don't know. Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. This is the Target alternate cover edition, and it is pressed on this like translucent blue color. Ultraviolence by Lana Del Rey, which was my senior night gift when I played volleyball in high school. So that's a fun one. Daddy's Home by St. Vincent. This is the indie record store alternative cover, and it's pressed on this like smoky gray translucent moment. It's really cute, and it like the fact that it looks like smoke really fits with the vibe of the album, so that was a good one. Solar Power by Lorde, Sling by Clairo, Folklore by Taylor Swift. So she did like 10 alternate covers on her web store, and this is the one that I got. But I got it because I liked the cover art more, and because it was pressed on this like sage green kind of moment. And the last record in the girls section actually was my 100th record, and that's Crash by Charlie XCX. And this is pressed on a gray vinyl. I think it would have been really neat if they did like a gray or white pressing and then did red splatter to kind of look like blood, because it would kind of fit with the theme of the album. The gray still looks cool. I don't think I have any other gray pressings, so. And for right now, I've just been displaying it right here. Since it was my 100th record, it kind of gets its own moment. So if we just keep moving along the top row of cubes, here I have like 2 different vibes. The first section is my Boys Bop 2, which is like my solo male artists. And then I have my 7 inches, which I'll show you really quickly. So this is Christine and the Queens, La Vida Nuova, sequences 2 and 3. And it's also like a gatefold 7-inch, which I've never seen before. So that's cool. And then I have Chinatown by Bleachers, and the other side is 91. And this is pressed on a white vinyl. And then I have Milk by the 1975. And this is one of my more expensive records, funnily enough. And it's also pressed on a white vinyl. But I don't have very many 7 inches. I'd like more because I think they're cool. Kind of novel, you know? Alright, moving on to Boys Bop. We're just gonna get the worst of it out of the way. We have Plus by Ed Sheeran, which is pressed on this translucent orange color. We have the Songs I Wrote with Amy EP by Ed Sheeran. Fine Line by Harry Styles. But it's pressed on this translucent with black and white splatter, and I think it's one of my favorite records I own. I think it looks so sick. Continuum by John Mayer. Chloe in the Next 20th Century by Father John Misty. And I have the Loser edition pressed on this translucent blue. I was really excited for this album leading up to its release, so this is the only other album I've listened to on vinyl for the first time. And then I have Quitters by Christian Lee Hutson, and that's pressed on this super pretty like sage green color. It's kind of like a more vibrant version of the color that Folklore was pressed on. And then if we move down one from there, I have the only 10-inch I own, which is You by Dodie, and that's pressed on white vinyl. And then if you move over to the right one from there, we have another dual category cube. So we have soundtracks and compilations, which count as one category, and then Shit My Parents Listen To, which is the other one. So I'll start with the Shit My Parents Listen To. Clouds by Joni Mitchell, Dog Eat Dog by Joni Mitchell, Court and Spark by Joni Mitchell, Higher Up by Joni Mitchell, For the Roses by Joni Mitchell. Are you seeing a theme here? ABBA's Greatest Hits, Arrival by ABBA, Poems, Prayers, and Promises by John Denver, Honky Chateau by Elton John, Diamonds by Elton John, which is basically like a greatest hits record, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John, The Stranger by Billy Joel, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. I actually bought this when I was in New York, and I went to the John Lennon Imagine Mosaic. And there was a guy there playing Strawberry Fields, and I was like, ugh, I fell in love with that song in that moment. And then so I walked to the nearest record store, which is Generation Records in New York, super sick, and got this. Abbey Road by the Beatles, Pipes of Peace by Paul McCartney, Always on My Mind by Willie Nelson. My first record, Thriller by Michael Jackson. I got this before I even owned a record player. I think I was like 8 years old when Michael Jackson died, and I was in the middle of a Michael Jackson phase, so my mom got me this, and I like stared at it all the time. It was so cool. Heartbreaker by Dolly Parton, Cool for Cats by Squeeze, Parallel Lines by Blondie, Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, which was a gift from my friend Gabby. I don't remember what for, but also an essential, so thank you, Gabby. Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel, and as a 22nd birthday gift from my roommate, A Steady Drip 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 by Sparks. Alright, now we're moving on to the soundtracks and compilations portion. Starting strong, Mamma Mia 2, Here We Go Again, the score from Casablanca, The Graduate, 2001: A Space Odyssey, West Side Story 2022, the original West Side Story, Baby Driver, 20th Century Women, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is on this great, like, hot pink pressing, like, so good. La La Land, a Christmas record that has like 20 random Christmas songs on it. And then the next few are actually from my local classic rock radio station. So back in like the 80s, I want to say, they did what they called a hometown album where they showcased a bunch of local rock bands, and they put out 9 of them in the 80s. This past year, my boss brought back the album, so I have a couple old ones and this year's. So we have the QFM second hometown album, the first QFM hometown album, and then we have the 10th QFM hometown album. I'm planning on getting all of them, but this is just the start of my little collection so far. Congratulations, you have made it to the final cube, which is on the end, and I did that because it was a little bit more accessible, and this is probably like the vibe I listen to the second most other than the girls. This section is what I call the indie bullshit section, which is just mostly bands. French Exit by TV Girl, Strange Desire by Bleachers, which is on a clear pressing. Take the Sadness Out of Saturday Night by Bleachers. This is an alternate cover from their web store. And then I have another edition of the same record. This is the alternate cover from the record store exclusive. And I think this is my favorite cover artwork for this album. Death of a Cheerleader by Pom Pom Squad, which I have not opened yet somehow. When My Heart Felt Volcanic by the Aces. Wet Leg by Wet Leg. and that is pressed on this really cool like neon yellow. Inner Speaker by Tame Impala, which is one of the first records I bought with my own money. Currents by Tame Impala. Lonerism by Tame Impala. Young and Old by Tennis. So this next one I got when I was in Paris, and it is Futurisma by Chevrolet. Bedford by Sunseeker. Women in Music Part 3 by Haim. Live at Kilmanham Gold by Fontaines DC. Probably didn't say that correctly, so I'm very sorry. Demos 1 and 2 by Hippocampus. Good Dog Bad Dream, which is an EP by Hippocampus. And it's pressed on this like red, white marble. The Queen is Dead by The Smiths, which my dad really likes The Smiths, so I should probably put this with music my parents listen to. Dragon New War Mountain, I Believe in You by Big Thief. And actually, there are 2 different color pressings for each side. Well, I grabbed C and D first. So sides C and D are on this like muted brown with a little bit of like color popped in there. And then sides A and B are printed on this like wine red color. All right, now we're moving on to the 1975 section, and they are all pressed on clear vinyl unless I show you otherwise, but I'm not taking out 10 vinyls in a row. Music for Cars, Sex, Face Down, 4, self-titled, I Like It When You Sleep For You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It, A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships, and Notes on a Conditional Form, which Notes is pressed on this neon yellow that looks super sick. I think the 1975 is the only artist that I own all of the LPs. There are a couple other artists that I want to own all of their work for, not too many, but I know I want to do it for Father John Misty, Joni Mitchell, Lana Del Rey, and Keaton Henson, but I don't have any Keaton Henson at all, actually. But one day I will, and one day I will have all of their work. So for these last 3 records, I just want to say that I no longer support this band. The lead singer was outed as an abuser. I was just a really big fan of them in high school, and I can't really get rid of them for sentimental purposes. But I do not stream them anymore. I do not listen. I got rid of my merch. For some reason, the vinyls I just wanted to hold on to. So that being said, here are my 3 Laney vinyls. I think these are all of their EPs. So we have I Loved You, Kinda, and Make Out. All right, what a note to end on. So those are my 101 records. But yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in another 100 records.